640, then he moved it down.
What are they doing? They're doing ridiculous stuff.
Sorry about that. So I was wondering that, I was even telling you I'm giving you a few more minutes. I didn't know that it was a sponsor. Today was a sponsor day.
That sounds ridiculous. How long is this break? How long is the break?
It's less than a minute. Scrambled everything. I don't even know where.
Are you sure there's no more ads coming up, right?
No. After this is the end. The ad is coming at the end. So can you see?
We chase our dreams down. They keep searching for answers. We question the answers and discover new possibilities.
And then it's the same ad. So you're in 20 seconds.
All right.
Thank you.
We choose us. We choose Verve. Ask your bank for your Verve card today. Verve, the rewarding way to make payments.
Mike's up. So you have the break liner.
Guys, it's your Africa.
All right, Lagos, let's do this again. All right, let's do it again. We're good, yeah? Okay. All right, it's Business Express, Smooth 98.1. You know how the business of radio works. You gotta play the ads. You have to play the ads because, essentially that's what sponsors the show and stuff like that. Okay, so Lagos, remember to send in messages 0809-444-0981. And also we are on Twitter as well at Smooth91FM. We are streaming on YouTube. www.youtube.com/smooth91fm. Let's get into it. Who saw this press release from the Ministry of the Power Ministry? They sent out a press release with regards to a new, they call it a new policy, but because we've covered this on the show. I'm going to read this to you all. So let me know if you heard this. By the way, if you're not following the Ministry of Power on Twitter, it's Power MIN Nigeria. I suggest you follow all the ministries. All right, so let's read this thing. All right. So this is a press release. I've just retweeted it. We'll also retweet it on our Smooth FM handle. Okay. Uthman is here. Uthman from Afrinvest has joined. Uthman,
good morning, Lagos.
Yeah, welcome, sir. So I just started telling Lagos about the press release from the Ministry of Power. All right, Lagos, listen to this. I'm sure you've heard this before. Willing seller, willing buyer. The Federal Ministry of Power is to introduce a new electricity distribution policy called Willing Seller, Willing Buyer. Under the new differential power distribution policy, electricity would be wheeled directly from the generation companies, Lagos, take note, to willing customers who are ready to fully settle their bills. The willing customers may include community and commercial clusters, industrial areas, and hospitality sectors. Speaking on a Freedom Radio radio program in Kano, the Minister of Power, Engineer Saleh Maman, said the policy was designed to save energy losses in the power sector and assist generation companies who have not been getting the full payment for their generated power. The policy has already taken off as a pilot scheme in 2 states. The minister revealed that discos have not been distributing all the power wheeled to them on the pretext that consumers, that's you and I, were unable to pay for power. This, he said, has necessitated the huge federal government subsidy intervention in the power sector by paying the GENCOs for undistributed power. Engineer Saleh Maman lamented that last year the federal government approved an intervention fund of 700 billion naira to the GENCOs, and just recently another 600 billion naira was approved for the same purpose. He explained that this huge now, you guys have to pay attention to this part because this part is funny. He said he explained that this huge subsidy was an overbearing burden on the federal government. Don't you just love that? Adding that 2,000 megawatts of electricity was not being distributed due to the failure of the distribution chain. Engineer Saleh Maman also explained that the discos were owing the GENCOs and other agencies in the sector over 1.3 trillion naira, and that their collection and remittances have remained below 30% or even far less, despite several efforts to make them improve. The minister assured that the government was taking various measures, including the completion of ongoing power projects to improve generation and distribution in the country, and called on Nigerians, that's you and I, to be more responsible citizens by paying their electricity bills. He noted that in the neighboring Niger Republic, electricity tariffs were higher, but payments were almost 100%. The minister also added that as part of efforts to improve power supply to the north, a new 330 kVA line would be installed for Kano and other cities to balance the distribution in the country. I love how he ends this part. He said, this is how the press release ends. He said, however, he hinted that the anticipated improvements in power supply for the country No, sorry. However, he hinted that with the anticipated improvements in power supply to the country, the increase in electricity tariffs was inevitable, considering the cost of energy generation in Nigeria. Signed by Aaron Armitage, who is the Special Advisor, Media and Communications to the Honorable Minister of Power. I had to read the entire thing. We just tweeted it because there's a lot to unpack here. Uthman, where do we start? First of all, this policy isn't new. Discos are already doing this thing in Lagos, in Magodo, and I think one other estates where I think it's Ikeja Electric. I believe that's already doing this. But now it looks like they're taking this across the country. Let's undress this thing or unpack this thing. What are your thoughts as far as what the government has decided to do here with this policy?
Okay, so if you look at the Nigerian power chain, you find that it's sort of complicated. Moving from Gencos to Discos to customer, we witness what we call energy loss. Okay, you might generate about 1,000 megawatts, for example. By the time it gets to the Disco, it could drop to like 950. On getting to the consumers, it probably be around 900 or 800 megawatts, as the case may be.
Yeah.
So the problem in this case is that this is a welcome development, yeah? But my question is, if the Gencos will be giving electricity directly to the consumers, I believe they will be making use of the Discos facility. I mean, if you're generating power somewhere, for you to get it onto the consumers,
you have to distribute it.
You have to distribute it.
Right.
So they're going to be using the Discos facility. The arrangement between the Disco and the Gencos in transmitting the power to the consumers in this case is something we need to be clear about. For example, if I stay in Ikorodu, for example, and the community will say, let's key into the Gencos, bringing electricity direct to us. I hope it won't be a situation where at the end of the month, the Discos will also come with their bills again.
Right.
So we need to understand how this is actually going to play out. But looking at it from the perspective that it's going to reduce energy loss, yeah, that's another good angle from it. If you also look at the fact that Discos in recent times, according to the Office of the Minister, we'll be seeing what we call load rejection. And their reason for rejecting this load is because the consumers are not paying.
Right.
Again, if you go down to the consumers part of it, you find out that there are quite a number of people that are using electricity that is not being paid for.
Right.
Okay, so collection at the Disco level is quite tough. For some areas, you find out there's no prepaid meter. They're probably on postpaid. And when there's probably like 4 hours out of 24 hours of electricity, then you bill them about 10,000 naira per month. There's no incentive to pay.
Right.
So the whole energy chain itself is quite complicated. But looking at this policy now, if there's a solid arrangement where they can transfer directly from the Genco to the consumers directly without any clash of territorial authority, I think it's a welcome development.
But as you stated, and I'm glad you stated it at the beginning, you can't cut the Discos out, right? So much money has been sunk into this sector. They're a big part of this. So it's saying that you're gonna it's almost like cutting out the middleman and selling directly to the customer. Somehow the Discos are still in this picture one way or the other.
Very true. That's why I said I'm trying to understand how they are going to take it up from the Genco and directly to the to the end consumers without using the Discos facility.
Right.
Okay, so there needs to be a sort of clarity to this, how this is going to work out. I understand there's a test phase in about 2 states.
Yeah.
So I think we need to see how it has been done and how it's currently working in those 2 states to understand it better.
Cool stuff. All right. Benga Kamo says, did the Power Ministry verify the claims of the Discos that people were willing to pay? Do the Discos not collect money for services not given? That's Benga on there, right there from WhatsApp. Cruz is saying it already. He said, wait, so Rotus, won't the electricity still be distributed through the Discos? Are we supposed to go collect it straight from Gencos with baskets? Cruz, we're all trying to understand. Uthman, I have to mention this part about this subsidy. The irony of this statement, I could not get past it. Where the minister, Engineer Salim Mamman, on the radio station in Kano said that this huge subsidy, energy subsidy, was an overbearing burden on the government. They're talking about energy. How, Uthman, can the minister say this about a subsidy in the energy sector when we have been spending trillions on petroleum subsidies? Try and help me out. How is it possible to make such a statement? You're essentially admitting what everybody has been saying about fuel subsidies for years. How is this possible? More importantly, is this a sign? Because I have to get to this last paragraph where they talked about tariffs going up, which they've already announced. Is this a sign that fuel subsidies in 2020 will finally be, at least if not yanked away, gradually removed with this statement? Can we try and draw some kind of parallel? Lagos, what do you think? Can you draw a line? Does anybody out there with this statement from the Minister of Power saying that the subsidies are a burden on the government? Do you guys also, and girls out there, think that this is also a sign that fuel subsidies, PMS subsidies will be removed next year? What do you think?
Well, as regard PMS subsidy, I mean, there's no clear statement about it will be removed or not. Okay, but if you look at what the energy minister is saying in this case, I think it's something that investors have been clamoring for. Okay, we need reflexive prices when it comes to energy.
Yeah.
One of the reasons people wouldn't invest in the Nigerian energy sector is because of the prices.
Right.
I can't be producing something at a price now. The government still pegs a price for me to sell it.
Right.
Sometimes it slims the margin. And in cases like that, the government will be the one to probably pay subsidies, to make up for these things. So I think the regularization of the electricity sector, price tariff, reflexive one, is what the guy is probably hinting there. Well, as regards the petroleum subsidy, we've not seen any clarity in that space here.
All right. Okay, thank you for that, Uthman. Una eBay sends a message. Good morning, guys. Please let metering go around the nation first. They did not. That was not addressed in this press statement. They didn't say anything about metering. It's so straightforward. I mean, there's many people. Who else? I mean, count times without number. Our listeners on this show have. I know Yinka. I'm surprised Yinka hasn't sent a message yet, but they've complained about the whole. I think you've already mentioned it. The estimated billing and so on. So if you want to make sure people are paying their bills and everything, you must address the meters.
Yeah, I think in as much as that's very important, again, for the discourse, it's not something very easy. When you see some people's bill, you see over 200,000 naira on people's bill.
Right.
You get out in such cases when you give them a prepaid meter, how do you expect them to claim or make claims to the 200,000 naira bill already on the facility?
Right.
So it's quite a very, very tough one. The energy sector is so complicated. Let's put it that way.
Gotcha. Abiodun says it's a welcome development, but the reality is, can Nigerians pay for the electricity that they really consume? That's a question there from one of our listeners. Good morning, guys. In my opinion, the fuel subsidy is going nowhere in Buhari's regime. He can't stand seeing the poor suffer. That is from Frank. Frank will make the argument that the poor are suffering with this with the subsidy, but I get where you're coming from. Ifeanyi in here. So is this centralization or decentralization of the energy sector? It's still essentially the system is still the same, right? It's still centralized. It's still centralized. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Prince, I don't think they are cutting out the discos, and I think subsidy on power and fuel should go. I just need power. What I use for fuel on my generator is alarming. Prince, we are all there with you. Let's see now. This is from Kenneth. I don't get how the subsidy on energy for Nigerians has become overbearing for the federal government, considering how much individuals and manufacturers spend in generating power. For fuel subsidy, that still remains a channel to divert funds, if you ask me. Yeah, Kenneth, what was the subsidies in the region of the kilowatt hours we're paying now? Uthman, we're paying 23 naira per kilowatt hour. It's supposed to be about 80 or something like that, and then the government
subsidizing the difference.
They're subsidizing the difference, so that has to go. Okay, so finally on this matter though, energy tariffs are gradually going to increase, or electricity tariffs, excuse me, next year. That one is they've already announced that part. Yeah. So we should expect that. All right. Shall we move to jobs? This World Bank Nigeria reports. Data has been coming out from there. The headline here, I believe, was in the Vanguard, and this is a little. We have to go into this here because this is not coming. This is on jobs. This has been a touchy issue for people. This is a central piece of any economic policy for any government, job creation, unemployment and everything. Nigeria created 450,000 new jobs in 2018. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is not coming from the Bureau of Statistics. Uthman, this is coming from the World Bank. Now, I guess the World Bank is able to do some survey. I don't know if it's as in-depth as the MBS, I doubt, but they do surveys and they make estimates, so I don't know. But anyway, let's get into it now. They're saying we created 450,000 jobs in an entire calendar year. Okay, let's go now. What do you think of the figures? And we should talk about. Oh, go ahead.
If you look at the numbers from the World Bank, put about 450,000. Also from the World Bank, about 500 million entrance into the labor market.
5 million. If you say 500 million. If you say 500 million.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
About 5 million new entrants into the labor market. So that still leaves us with a deficit of about 4 million, in excess of 4 million people looking for it.
Right.
Looking for jobs. So that means there's still a whole lot more to be done. Okay. And for us to, sort of cut this gap, okay, we should be looking at things like investing in education, like heavily investing in education,
Right.
soft infrastructures and the business environment. I think our education curriculum or our universities, polytechnics, and the like should actually reflect the reality of the day. It should be in tandem with what we are seeing currently. The world is gradually evolving.
Yeah.
From what even at the beginning of the 2000s, okay, up to the 2010s, you see the world has really evolved a lot. So we should think of restructuring our education structure, or to meet time the real life, what's currently happening in the markets.
Right.
Also, the business environment. Not everybody will actually go up to get a white collar job, right? So making business easy for people to start, not just starting, sustainable. Sustainability is key. It might be easy for me to start a business, but in 1 year, 6 months, 1.5 years, you find out there are new set of policies slapping me and I have to go underwaters again.
Right.
So business environment, in terms of job, creating businesses, sustainability, and providing support for these businesses. For the central bank, they've been trying. Okay, we'll be seeing results from the LDR new loan deposit over 60% plus. That we'll be seeing the results. If you look at the Q3 results, you find out that there was an improvement in agriculture, manufacturing also improved, transportation and storage. So you can link some of these things to the fact that there's a sort of relatively easy access now to credit in some way. So all in all, we should look at improving the business environment and the education structure of the country.
All right. There's still much to talk about this thing. But okay, here's from Papi K. Rotus, how do we end up with these folks? Even my 5-year-old knows these things. Is it now that we know that the subsidy is killing us? Bro, tariff is going up finally, and once these pilots are confirmed, off-takers of 24 hours supply is common, that will be on the road to the increase of tariffs. This is from Papi K. Good morning, guys. From Yinkus, they'll be using the Transco infrastructure. The transmission lines are owned by the transmission company. It is already being done, as Babatunde Radifashola has said late last year, about supplying industries directly. By the way, that's another thing. So these things are in clusters, so estates, commercial folks, and so on and so forth. Who else do we have here? Abdul, 5 million entrants to the labor market in a year. I think this might not be correct. The NYC turnover should be a good indicator of this. Abdul, look again.
That's the World Bank data.
It's World Bank data. I ranted about this on an episode 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago. The last data for unemployment that we got from the Bureau of Statistics at Uthman was the 3rd quarter of 2018. We have no data. This is something we talk about time. We don't know any. We don't have any data. So what do we do? World Bank is a relatively credible organization, but still they're not on the ground and they're not as in depth as the MBS. So we need this data to come from the MBS. Okay, this is from Musa. Please help me. The filling station still taking 15 naira from us, so please help. Musa, they are. Again, the information on the stamp duty thing didn't trickle down around everywhere. It took some time. Now I'm hearing they've increased the amount to 10,000 naira or so for you to be charged 50. I don't even know how long it takes for that information to filter. So for now, there are still a number of filling stations that are still charging 50 naira. Stamp duty if you're spending over 1,000 on POS. Yinka, oh yeah, you are. Yinka's finally here. Rotus, my job allows me to be in some kind of meetings where things are said. I was at one of such meetings where one of the guys told me the electricity guys did not envisage that the metering will cut back their profits, and that's why metering will continue to be an issue. How do we explain that the discos return unused power to the gencos? Who does that? How does one explain that while people are saying they want power? Yinka, you throw up some issues. Okay, Ayo is back giving me air traffic signals. Is my 20 minutes over already?
Totally over.
It's already over? All right, folks, I'm still seeing a few of your messages. Ifeanyi, Okolise, let's see here. Benga, Kamo, Abdul. I've seen your messages. Thank you so much. Uthman from Afrinvest. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. If any messages I've missed,
thank you.
We continue tomorrow.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry for coming late.
No problem. I usually we start at 6:40 now.